Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. First off, thank you for coming and listening. I appreciate that it's the first day, it's the first talk, and lots of people are getting set up, and we have some very rare sunshine that people are trying to make the most of. So appreciate you coming. Right? So my name is Stait, and there's one thing that I need to get cleared up before we carry on with this conversation, and that is this. Nobody is saying you've got to quit YouTube. Okay? Obviously, the Vanlife community is a big fan of YouTube, and YouTube has served the community well. So I'm not saying get rid of YouTube. What I'm saying is there are new tools that can be put to use when it comes to content creation, getting yourself out there, getting your story out there, getting your business out there, or just getting your adventures out there. However you want to look at it, there's a place for that. So just very quickly before we get started, is anyone here on YouTube? Is anyone here on channels? Yeah? So if you let me know what it is, I'll follow you at the end, my friend. So basically, guys, what we're going to talk about today, and what I'd like this to be is a conversation, right? So I will present and I will talk through the information, but hopefully there'll be time for questions, and hopefully there will be a conversation. That's how I prefer it, because I get more of the sound of my own voice. So basically then, this is me, right? So there's a couple of versions of me that I'm going to talk about quickly today. This is the first one. So this is what I do with regards to the van stuff that I do. I have a van, I love my van, I've had vans for years and years and years. And recently I just started a small channel with it. So they're not big numbers by any stretch of the imagination. It's something that I do for fun, and I aim to really grow over time. But it is something I do for fun. Now, this is more the me that we're talking about, right? So this is another version of me. So this is the social media accounts that I have for one of the things that I do, which is martial arts. I've managed to build a very large following over on TikTok, and I've managed to monetize various elements of that, which I'll explain as we go along. And I've also done the same over on Facebook. I've got quite substantial, large community groups and pretty good followings themselves, right? So that's another version of me. And then finally, the last version of me, the version of me that sits here today. Oh, by the way, if you want to do the martial arts with me, I'm doing self-defense sessions Sunday morning at 11, I believe. So if you want to come and have some fun with that, come and join me there. So this version of me, I run a company called Different Think, which is a social media consultancy where I help businesses and individuals create and brand profiles over on the various channels, right? So I'm an author, I'm a coach, I'm a writer, speaker. I've done a number of different things, right? I'm not just some middle-aged guy who looks better with his clothes on these days. And I know some of you think that that's important when it comes to TikTok. Not necessarily so. I'll explain why later. So I hold an MSc in marketing, and I'm studying for a PhD. So, but aside from that, I've got over 500,000 followers across various different platforms, and that's really where I'm talking to you from today. It's about that experience and how I put that to work, okay? So at times I've sustained growth of 1,000 a day. That's harder to do these days, but it's not impossible by any stretch, okay? So video views in the multiple millions. I've had lots and lots of viral videos. Now when people talk about virality, what they often say is, oh, I want to get a viral video. I want to have a video that's had 1 million+ views. But they've got no idea what to do with it when it gets there. So when they get that, when it does happen, and eventually if you carry on enough, you should get there. Eventually when it does happen, it's like fishing without a net, and they all just fall out the bottom of the bucket because you don't know what to do with them. So that's something else we're going to talk about today. So when we talk about virality, we're talking about it, but from the context of growing channels and communities. Okay? So I've repurposed content to create evergreen funnels. The Facebook profile that you saw there, the one with just shy of 70,000 people on it, for the first year of that's life, I didn't put a single new piece of content on there. It was nothing but repurposed content, and it built to around 63,000 without putting a single new piece of content into the world, just repurposing what I had on TikTok already. Okay. Helped hundreds of businesses leverage the short-form video platforms. As I say, that's what I do. That's my grown-up persona, if you like. And all with zero ad spend and no twerking. Again, it's important to understand, just because teenagers do one thing doesn't mean to say we have to do it as well. Yeah, some things just don't suit us, some things do. It's about figuring out what works for us. And the zero ad spend is important as well, because again, you can either chuck money at it or you can chuck time at it, or in some cases a mixture of both, right? Time or money is the key to anything. In this instance, we're looking at organic growth, we're looking at organic community building, we're looking at doing it in a way that isn't going to cost an arm and a leg and is open to everyone who's willing to put a little bit of legwork in. Okay? So what is short form video content then? So lots of people may have heard the term, but do they necessarily know what that actually is? So a very basic outline of that is what you see on the screen, right? 31 to 60 seconds, and and shot in portrait, not landscape. Okay? Again, I know it's teaching your granny to suck eggs a little bit, but it's worth saying these things because quite often what a lot of people do is they'll try and repurpose content, and they will take something like a YouTube clip, a longer version, they'll cut that down, and then they'll put that up on Insta or TikTok or Shorts or Reels, whichever, and they'll put it up in landscape. So you only get half the screen. Okay? That is something that you want to sort of have a look at and address if you can. There are plenty of apps out there where you can change the formatting. Okay? There's plenty of ways that you can get around it. It's just something to consider. Don't put it straight up in landscape if you can possibly help it. Okay? So short form is anything really up to 3 minutes. That's always the accepted terminology for that, up to 3 minutes. However, the different platforms have different allowances, right? And I'm sure to a degree they're doing it on purpose. They want to make it life difficult, so you can't just do one and put it on everything, right? They all have different formatting preferences, and they all have different length preferences. So if you look at YouTube at the moment, their shorts, so their version of TikTok, for want of a better description, that sits at 60 seconds right now. Right? Now, if you're used to doing long form content, 60 seconds doesn't seem like a long time, yeah? So it's a skill in itself, learning how to present a story, a message, whatever it is that you want to do, a piece of information, in that short period of time. So it is a skill set that has to be learned, but it is a skill set that is worth learning, because if you can say something in 60 seconds or less, then you shouldn't have any problem going more in depth with that to 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, however long you want. Okay? So the content is snappy and fast-paced. We'll talk a little bit about that as we go along, but for the moment, it's enough to understand the modern world and the way we all consume information now. Right? So have we all heard that statistic when it comes to Gen Z and their attention span? Yeah? So, well, they say it's roughly around 8 seconds. Right? So you have 8 seconds. And if you haven't done it by then, you're not going to do it. Right? But it's actually worse than that, because again, they've done studies, this is all available to find if you like, and what they found out, when it comes to advertising, and I'm not saying that's what you guys are doing, but when it comes to advertising, believe it or not, it drops to 1.5 seconds. So that's how quickly the scroll is happening on short form. That's how quickly people are moving on by, right? So it's something that we have to understand and then look to use to our advantage. So I'm making it sound really terrible at the moment, aren't I? I'm not actually selling it right now at this point in time. However, there is lots of good news to it. So one of the great things about short form video is the time that it takes. The clue is in the time. Right? So if you make a YouTube video, let's just say you make a 15-minute YouTube clip, right? How long does it take to film that clip? A couple of hours to get all the content? How long does it take to edit that clip? Another couple of hours at least, if not longer. Yeah, so you're looking at a huge amount of time. Okay? Once you get the hang of short form, you can film it, you can edit it, you can have it up in under a minute. That's not a joke, it can be done, right? Straight from the phone if the app is there. And that 1 minute piece of content that you just threw away, you just did in the moment, can have the ability to go viral and get millions and millions of views on, right? And it can also then be used to bring them back into your long form content, which again, we'll have a talk about in a minute. So why now? Why is it worth doing this now? And the reason for that is really simple. Basically, it's because we're now in a world where short form video is the most consumed, the most shared, the most viral, in fact, the most everything you can pretty much think of, right? So it's a bit like saying right now today, somebody's invented a car that will do 300 miles an hour and it will do it on 20 pence worth of diesel. And we're all like, no, we don't want to do that, we're going to stay with what we got. We'll get there in a week and it'll cost us 50 quid. That's where we're at with this. It's just the modern movement of things. Everything changes, everything goes forward, and this is a version of that, right? So when we look at short form video, we've got to think that the technology that we have available now, so all you guys out there with a smartphone in your hand or in your pocket or in the vicinity, and you will be in the vicinity because I bet you all have your own personal device close to hand. Very few of you are going to be like, no, I left it in the van. Right? We don't do that anymore. We keep it with us. So again, that's another barrier to entry that's just been overcome. I don't need to have all this specialist equipment because the phone in my pocket is now so amazing. It's now so incredible that I can do everything I need. I can film it, I can edit it, I can get it out to the world globally, instantly, all from that tiny little device, right? So that's a great reason by itself, is the fact that we can do that. Who knew years ago that we could all have our own television channel in our pocket, which we do. Okay? The other thing is the fact that technology itself has moved on to the point where now it can hold that kind of information, right? So if you think previously, sending a video, you have to sit, you have to wait, you have to, it take a while for everything to go through. Now, it's pretty much instant, it'll carry the weight, okay? So what you're looking at is you've got the platforms, and all of the platforms now, they're all trying to get in on the act. So you've got TikTok, which some of you may have thoughts about, lots of people do. Some people think, yeah, love it, it's a great opportunity. Other people think it's the devil. Somewhere in the middle is probably the reality. Again, it's how you want to look at it. For every person that says, TikTok is awful, it does all this to privacy, have you not seen Facebook? So in that respect, there's not a lot between them. And what we're actually looking at today is not the security implications on that side of it, but how we can use it as a tool. So when we look at TikTok and we look at its absolute growth, and it's been extraordinary because they've gone from something that was quite small into something that's absolutely enormous. Enormous to the point where all the other platforms have said, hang on a minute, we're losing eyes on this, we're losing ad revenue, we're losing all kinds of things on this, we need to get involved. So they've all started to do their own thing, right? So when we look at it, you've got higher engagement rates. It's got the highest engagement rates, short form content, right? It's great for growing channels. Now you get an argument from people old school and they say, actually, people who watch short form content don't watch long form content, right? They won't do both. But I put it to you as an audience, and you can make your own choice on this. Do you watch short form content? Put your hand up. Okay, well done. Do you watch long form content? Put your hand up. Well, what do you know? Okay, so that's really the point on that. Now, the thing is using it in the correct way. So rather than saying, this is my short form, it sits over there, this is all it does, look at that. What you're actually doing is say, look at this, right? This is an introduction into my long form stuff. Come over here, and let me nurture you through my whatever it is you've got going on, whatever your ecosystem looks like, right? So, virality, we talked about that a moment ago. Now, again, this isn't sort of, oh, look at me, I'm wonderful. I'm explaining it because it's an interesting phenomenon. Okay? Now, when I first started, I did it because I had a need, right? I had a business, I'd just written a book, I had some online courses, and I was like, how the heck am I going to get these out in the world? I thought, okay, I'll do some social media, I'll try it that way. And so that's what I did, and I got more and more into it. And then TikTok came around, and this was just the start of 2018, right? And I'd seen this video with Gary Vaynerchuk in it. I don't know whether you know of Gary Vaynerchuk. He swears a lot, very lively. Anyway, and he said all the way back then that you should be on TikTok. It's a huge opportunity. So I thought that sounds interesting. So I looked at it, I got involved, and I did. I jumped on board. But I researched it first. And anyway, it didn't take long, I started building followings. And the first video I had that went viral, it went to over 4 million views. But it hit 1 million in about a day and a bit, right? And I don't know whether you've ever had that and looked at your phone and it's just going absolutely mental, it's crazy, right? It's such a weird feeling. But from that, I ended up with people contacting me from all around the world. I had people signing up to my things from all around the world, and it has made a massive difference to my life. Here I am talking to you guys, right? So the virality of it, it's pretty incredible, and the opportunities are there. You've got your increased reach and visibility. Now, the reason I say that is, again, because when you look at short form video, and this is where I catch a lot of people, because when I'm talking to businesses, when I'm talking to people that are like, yes, well, what's it going to cost me? What can I make? When they're that kind of frame of mind, and I say to them, have you ever been on TikTok? And often they'll say no. So that's fine. So have you ever seen a TikTok? They're like, yeah, people keep sending me them. Well, there you are. So that's your shareability right there. Okay? TikToks are shared. It doesn't matter if you've never been on the platform before, almost certainly you would have seen a TikTok because they get shared all around the place. Okay? Higher ROI, right? So again, we're not going to go too much into that, but basically, more bang for your buck, right? E1, electronic word of mouth, which is a great little thing. We've all heard of word of mouth, yeah? Yeah, this is the electronic version. Remember what I said about the shareability a minute ago? You do something interesting, you do something that gives value, you do something that is new in the world, in a piece of content, I guarantee other people will go, hey, have you seen this? And they'll ping it over. And so you've got an army of people who are doing that for you. And that's pretty extraordinary. That really is, okay? So, fits in with current user trends, right? Again, that's really important to understand because there's no point in us bucking the trend, trying to fight the trend, right? There's no point in us saying, actually, I don't care, right? I thought somebody was trying to tell me something, then it's not, it's a wasp or something. Right? So it fits in with current trends, the way that people use their phones, the way that people consume information, right? And you know that YouTube is the second biggest search platform, yeah? Next to Google. So if people want to know something, they go, how do you do that? Why does that work? Right? And they'll do it on YouTube. But guess who does it on YouTube? And guess who does it on TikTok? So basically, the boomers, they use YouTube. They do it on YouTube, right? So millennials, Gen Zs, that sort of thing, now, the younger generation, they'll do the same thing. They will use TikTok as a search engine, right? They haven't got time to watch 20 minutes of somebody waffle on. They don't care about a lovely drone shot of a landscape. Or you driving through a puddle. They just want to know. Once you've given them that, and they see the value, well, then they're going to be more inclined to settle in and watch you drive through said puddle. Right? Okay, now, when we look at the platforms themselves, I talked about this a little bit, but we've got TikTok, as we know, created in 2016, brought to the UK in 2017, right? It hasn't been around for very long, but it's taken a huge market share. It's grown exponentially, and just the other day, I don't know whether the significance of this, whether it's going to land in the sense that, because even I don't understand this, nor does yet, but they've just signed a deal with Amazon where you can buy Amazon products straight from the video in the platform. Right? That is enormous. If you do any kind of selling from videos, you really should be pinging up at this point, right? Because that is such an incredible thing. Right? Now, so when we look at TikTok and we look at the Chinese version of it, which are two separate things, by the way, Douyin itself, it's so embedded into their culture, the way they do things. They shop from it, they meet from it, they get their information from it. It's a central hub, right? That's what TikTok is trying to do here. I work directly with TikTok. I'm a TikTok partner, I'm an agency, so I am on the front edge of the information coming directly from TikTok as to what's available and what it wants to do in the future, right? And these are things that we need to sort of be aware of because it isn't necessarily what's happening today, it's placing ourselves so that we can take advantage of what's going to happen in 6 months and what's going to happen in a year. The reason that I'm stood here today, the reason that this is now my business is because I saw an opportunity years ago and I thought, oh, I'm going to have a go at that. And that's why, right? So, that's TikTok. When we look at Facebook Reels, now we know Facebook has been around forever, but it's seen what TikTok is doing and it's thought, I need some of that. I want some of that. That's a huge slice of the pie now. So it started doing its own version. Now that's quite new, okay? But when you think about the numbers of Facebook, it is by far a huge platform. Even if only a small percentage adopted, that's still a big, big number, right? Myself and some of my clients do very well on Facebook. It's surprising. Okay, Instagram, again, a lot of people like Instagram. A lot of people are Instagram sort of embedded. That's what they do because that's what they've always done. And again, nothing wrong with that. If you've built following on Instagram and you're happy there, carry on, right? However, like with all the platforms, it's constantly changing, it's constantly doing other things, it's constantly updating how it presents you and your information and your channel, and it's constantly deciding for you how things should work. Right? So it might be that if you're a new starter, Instagram maybe isn't the best one to jump into, who knows? Or it may be that if you're in an existing channel, you might want to not carry all your eggs in the same basket. Right? These are just thoughts to think about. And then YouTube Shorts. Now again, that's always been an interesting one because, well, we all know YouTube and we're all familiar with YouTube as a long-form platform. When they first started talking about doing shorts, because it's very, very new, it's only sort of 2 years old. Right? There's a lot of people that say it would never work. But it is working, and it's working very, very well. So again, it's another thing to think about. And if you're putting on one, and this is one of the important things, right? If you're putting to one, if you're going to the effort of making content for one, and it's really, really simple to put them on all, why not just do that? Why not take the extra couple of minutes? Because there's such a payoff if it works. Right, now, this is something, again, that's interesting. I said about all the platforms, so we think about the platforms, the major players, and we think about those kind of social platforms, right? Has anybody heard of LinkedIn? If we have, we've heard of it as some staid, fuddy-duddy business platform, yeah, where everybody's very serious, and if you're really lucky, you'll get 20 messages of somebody pretending to be your friend and selling you something, yeah? That's LinkedIn in a nutshell, okay? But even LinkedIn is now getting in on it. Even LinkedIn now has a video for you section, where as you scroll down, there it is. Just the same as the other platforms, because even they realise they're missing the boat, right? So every platform, well, I say every platform, most platforms now, they realise the importance of it, they realise the value in it, and if they realise it, and these guys are multi-billion pound business industries, but if they realise it, we should too. I think that's the sensible way to look at that. Okay, now, going on to some of the monetization options from the platforms. Some of these have gateways. I'm not going to go into all of the details on this as we go along now, because that in itself will take the afternoon. So we're just going to skim over just to give you guys an idea about what's available, what could be available. But one of the most fascinating things about the content creator space, and I love this, is the innovation. Is that there's always somebody thinking of something new, and a new way of doing something, a new way to make money, a new way to generate revenue, a new way to do something exciting and change the parameters, right? And I love that. And when people sort of poo-poo it and they're like, influencers, well, actually, you've got to be clever these days. You know, you've got to have a brain on you to make it work, especially if that's what pays for your lifestyle and that's what allows you to do the things that you love. You know? So, if we start from the top and we look at Facebook. So Facebook payment systems are quite recent, paying their creators. Again, everyone's following everybody else in the sense that if you want to be on their platform, you need to be incentivized, yeah? So that's simple as that. So this is the ways that some of the ways they incentivize. So you've got stars, right? And you'll see some of these the same on all of them. So I won't go over them time and time again. But so you get stars, right? So basically people can gift you for your content. So if you put a video up or if you put a post up, if you're eligible, you can be gifted stars, right? That's not so great on Facebook because it's not really part of the Facebook culture as yet. It does happen, but it's not, it's not great. And bear in mind, I'm not suggesting that any one of these things is going to change your fortunes overnight. What I am saying is, who wouldn't be adverse to a few extra quid every month, right? So if it starts there, then brilliant. If it picks up from that, then even better. So you've got your bonuses. So that's basically the platform paying you for content. So bear in mind, I get paid on all of these platforms. They pay me, right? Again, it's not life-changing stuff individually, but it all matters up. It all makes a difference. So your bonuses is, again, when you've signed up to the program, when you make content, the more that it gets shared, the more that it gets talked about, the more people get involved with it, the more they pay you. Okay? The reels in ads, and the reels and ads and the in-stream ads, they're not dissimilar to what happens on YouTube and the other platforms. Yeah, we all understand the premise of that. That's pretty straightforward. Okay, so they just started doing it on their video content. So I don't know whether you've seen that. So what happens is when you watch a portrait video on a short reel, and on the bottom of it there'll be a banner ad. Okay? quite often. It's not actually that invasive when it comes up like that as that banner ad, so it's not too bad. What is invasive and something to consider because it can hit your numbers is the in-stream ads, because that stops the video halfway through, and then you suddenly find yourself watching something that you may or may not have any interest in whatsoever. So just something to weigh up and consider, right? Subscriptions, again, a lot of platforms now are doing this. This is quite a new thing with the subscriptions. Some of the platforms do that better than others. So basically, that's where people pay you money to get extra content, private content, special what have you. So there's all kinds of different add-ons that the various platforms will give you, and you work out how you want to do that. Now, with the subscriptions, you can do that on or off platform. So all the platforms are now allowing you the ability to do that within the platform, but the old way of doing it was, you'd set up a Facebook group and you'd send people a link once they pay the subscription kind of deal. There's all kinds of ways of doing these things, right? So it doesn't have to be within the platform itself, right? So Instagram, very similar. You've got the branded content, the shop. Now, again, with TikTok and Instagram, I'll talk about that in a minute, the shops are different between the two, and TikTok is different because TikTok does a shop for creators and a shop for sellers, right? So what that means is if you're a creator on TikTok and you don't have any product to sell, that's absolutely fine. You can use other people's. You can bring them in, you can build your own storefront, and you can sell that directly through your content itself, right? So as long as it aligns, as long as it's not funky, as long as it sort of fits in with what you want to do, great, no problem with that. Right? You don't have to hold any stock, you don't have to ship anything, you don't have to deal with the headaches of returns or nearing customers. None of that, no, that's a problem, right? The downside to that is that obviously you're only getting a small percentage of the whole. But again, better than nothing, right? Some people are doing very, very well out of that, and that's all they do. And they do very well. So a lot of that is choosing the product, choosing where you want to place that. So the shops themselves. Okay, the Insta Live badges, again with the TikTok, I'll talk about the two together. So basically when you go live, you can get paid and gifted within those lives, right? TikTok at the moment is really heavily pushing that. They've got a thing called the Live Creator Studios, right? And there's agencies for that, of which I'm one. So when people say, oh, you can't monetize TikTok until you've got 100,000 followers or 10,000 followers, depending on what gateway it is for what particular thing, that isn't true. You can monetize from zero if you're prepared to do the live, sign with an agency, right? The downside to that is you have to commit to doing X amount of hours in a month, X amount of times in a month, right? So it becomes a little bit of a job. But again, if it's paying you, then all of a sudden it's not so bad, okay? So, again, they've got the subscription model there. For YouTube, you've got very similar stuff, but they've added the memberships, okay? Will that stop people wanting to send people over to Patreon? I don't know, you tell me. It's an option again, it's another choice, okay? But because we're talking about short form, we've got to discuss TikTok. And the reason we've got to discuss TikTok because it is recognized as the best platform for paying its creators, right? And that, again, is something to be aware of. So when it comes to making content, if you want the biggest bang for your buck, TikTok is the place to do that, and it's known as such, right? Unless, of course, you've got an established following on one of the other platforms, so on and so forth. If you're starting brand new, or if you have a reasonably small following, then what to think of. So they've got many, many ways to monetize. So you've got the what they call live branded missions, right? Sorry, your lives first. Then you've got your branded missions. I'll talk to you a little bit about that. The branded missions, the companies, they just put up a price and they say, make a video on this. If it's good, we'll pay you. Simple as that, right? The more it sees, the more we'll pay you. And again, if it aligns with what you're doing anyway, hey, win-win. Okay? So you've got, as I say, the shop for creators, which we talked about. We've got Creator Marketplace itself. Okay? Now that's where you can be influencers, businesses, you can discuss things, you can figure out amongst yourselves who's going to go where and do what, put you in front of people. So it's actually a really useful tool. Okay? There's also a heck of a lot of training in there. And that's the other thing where it's got a lot of value is because, like with anything, it's constantly evolving and changing, and there's a place where everything's updated all the time, right? So you get to know what's going on when it's going on. Again, they've got subscriptions now, you can do that. Okay, the gifting is one of the things that's important. When we talked about going live, and you can do that from 0 followers, right? you get gifted. Now, you get gifted in a thing called diamonds, right? So that's their currency for creators. The people paying or giving the gifts, then they come in different packages, right? So they can be something as simple as like £1, or they can be up to like 5,000, just under is the highest one that you can be gifted. Okay? The downside is that TikTok take a very large chunk, which they do. But hey, it's their ball, they're letting you play. So that's the way to look at that, really. But yeah, they do take quite a lot. But for some people, again, they're doing very, very well for it. Very much depends on whether or not it works for you. If you're somebody that likes doing lives, if you're somebody that can commit to doing so many hours all the time. Right? So it's just something to consider with that, because a lot of people are doing well. So you've got work with artists, okay? And again, a lot of that is music. So people will put up music and they will say, we'll pay you money if you use my music in your video. Okay, another nice little way of doing things. So the series is an interesting one. Has anyone seen that on TikTok? Okay. So basically the series is online courses. So that's their version of it. So you can make online courses on whatever you like, and you can put that into the TikTok platform that people can buy through directly from your content and profile on TikTok. Right? It's an interesting one. Again, with that, we're having mixed reactions, to be fair. It's not something that I've seen huge successes with. But, like with everything else, if it's part of the whole, it's something that's worth being out there. If you've already got some sort of online course or some kind of teaching thing that you can just repurpose, then what have you got to lose? Half an hour out of your day uploading in the first instance. Okay? Now, the next one is, as I said, the shop for sellers, which is basically exactly the same as the others. You have a storefront and you sell whatever it is. Okay? Finally, we've got the gaming incentive program. I'm not going to talk much about that today because I'm not sure how relevant that is to you guys. But again, there's a payment structure there. Okay? So that's kind of a very brief overview of the various things. But like I said, TikTok is known at the moment for being the best platform for paying. There are many ways that you can monetize, right, on all the platforms. But you can also monetize off platform. Okay? And again, I know that I'm preaching to converted on some of this, but it's worth sort of knowing about. So you've got obviously your collaborations, you've got your affiliate marketing. Okay? These are all bog standard stuff. Okay? You've got your product promotion, your exclusive content, your influencer marketing. Now, the last three is one of the things that I'll talk about a little bit here, because these are things that I think are relevant for a lot of people, and sometimes I think people are missing the boat on this. Okay? So if you're doing a Vanlife vlog, if you're doing a travel vlog, if you're doing anything like that, right, you pick up some skills along the way, aren't you? Yeah? I know that I'm on my 4th van build now, and I'm still on it. And I'm sure there'll be another one, right? But I'm learning as I go, each and every time. I get it wrong, I learn, I get better at it, I get skills. Okay? So I'm sure you guys have done that in your professional lives. I'm guessing you've got skill sets that you probably bring to bear. So it's worth thinking that if you have something that you can put down as an online course or as a book or as something that's saleable, then it might be worth considering. The online courses work very well. And again, lots of different platforms you can put those on. That's another topic altogether. But there are many ways of doing that very simply. Okay? But it's another add-on that you can use on your channels to help to generate a little bit of income. But what it also does as well is it gets you out there, right? It gets you known for things. So, has any of us heard of Greg Virgo? Yeah? Okay, so a few of us have heard of Greg Virgo. What have we heard of him for? Vanlife. Yeah, Vanlife, right? So he's got a definite skill set. He's a very clever guy. Right? But that's how most of us know him, is because of that skill set. It's because he's very good in that space. And I've done it myself. When somebody said, oh, I'm really struggling with this, I'm like, ooh, this Greg Virgo video. Have a look at that. So again, it can be really helpful for growing channels, growing communities, showing your authority in the space, and making money all at the same time. So you can do lots and lots of things. The same with books. Less and less people read books now. I get that. It's it's a hobby that people are sort of dropping. However, audiobooks are very much on the rise, and even if nobody buys it, right? You've got something brilliant that you can bore your grandkids with when the time comes. So something to think about, just some ideas. I'm sure you guys may have others, right? So what I'd like to do is just talk about some of the differences between long form and short form. Right? So most people, when they do long form in the Vanlife community, they do it in the sense of it's either a teachable or it's a vlog. Yeah? So you've got your basic setups as to how that's going to work. So with short form, there's a number of different content, or basic content types. So we can get more extravagant than this, but as a baseline, right? 10 different types. So you've got your education, your documentary, your grenade, current news, blah, 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 blah. Now when we look at each of those very, very quickly, because this helps to show you how this works. So if we're thinking about, right, I need to make a piece of short form content, I want to get it out in a couple of minutes flat, right, my aim is 2 pieces a day, however, whatever it looks like for you, whatever you want to do. Okay, what do I need to do? Right, so if you look at education, then that could be anything. That could be you saying, something about your van, something about how you work on your van, could be something about today, being here, how you got here, anything, doesn't matter. Anything that teaches somebody something, right? Documentary, so that is the vlog, basically. That's just a very short version. But essentially, that's your vlog. I'm doing this is what I'm doing, it's all good fun. Grenade, do we know what a grenade is? We get the idea of a grenade, yeah? You throw it, it explodes. That's it, but in content form. So think of something contentious, think of something that is highly debated, think of something that's emotive, that gets people's juices flowing, right? If you can think of something like that, that isn't going to be absolutely terrible and get you kicked off, right? But if it gets people talking, then you can use that because it helps to stimulate and it helps to get traction going on, right? So I'll give you an example of that. As I mentioned before with martial arts stuff, right? I put out a very short video and it said, who would win a fight, a lion or a shark? That got over 1 million views and thousands of comments, right? The last time I looked, and I posted this over a year ago, well, over a year ago in fact, and the last time I looked a few months back, it was still getting commented on, right? Thousands and thousands and thousands of comments on something so incredibly ridiculous. But for some reason, people wanted to talk about it. Okay, current news. Again, it speaks for itself. There's all kinds of news at the moment. You can look at the downside of it, and you can look at all the issues with parking, overnight stops, all kinds of stuff like that. Or you can look at the upside of it. Think of nice things to say. User-generated again. So that's other people. That's using other people's content. That's getting them involved so that they get involved with you. Okay, wins. Well, being here is a win, yeah? Are you sure? Being here is a win, right? The sun's shining right now is a win. I was here last night and the van was blowing like mad. So it's great, the sun is shining. Social proof. Okay, so again, that's just something as simple as making it know who you are, what you're doing, and other people agreeing with you. So if I say, hey, I'm a brilliant driver, which I am, right? And then my friend does a post and says, you know that, Matt, he's a fantastic driver, that's social proof. Right? Whereas if him and several other friends say, actually, Matt's rubbish at driving, that's also proof, but in the wrong direction. Right? Motivational, we've all seen those, yeah, those memes. Yeah, have a great day, whatever, right? You can do those, and you just stick your logo on. Okay, so it's a real cheap win, a lot of businesses do that. All they do is they take that meme, positive word, and they stick their little logo on it, bosh. Okay? Gratitude, again, we should all be gratitude, like I said, sun shining, thank goodness. Storytelling, now, there are 7 main types of storytelling. I'm not going to go into those again today, because there's a lot to go into on that, subject all of its own, but telling stories is a great way to connect with people. That's how we all connect, so how we always connect, and we're doing that right now. Right? When you look at storytelling, the trick is to get that squeezed into 60 seconds, 90 seconds, and 3 minutes. Yeah? Right? When you're doing a 20-minute vlog, you've got time to pull that out, you've got time to discuss it. So with the storytelling, when it comes to short form video, you've got to sort of get the skill. Okay? All right, so a couple of top tips then. We've got basically create engaging content, right? So this is something that is, it should be obvious, really, shouldn't it? So be original, authentic, and real. So when I say create engaging content, right, I see this all the time, and I'm picking on Vanlife a little bit because I love my Vanlife videos. But don't they all start the kind of same way? There's a picture of that shop driving down the road, some road somewhere, going somewhere. I did it myself. Okay. But then when you look at the guys that are doing well, that have got big followers, if you watch how they make the videos, which is quite fascinating, you know, they're doing something a little bit different. It's a different view of the world, it's a different take on things. There's something novel about it. It's interesting, right? Okay, so hashtagging, when it comes to short form, hashtagging on platforms, really important that you do those correctly. Some more so than others, but the way to look at hashtags is that's how you library your content. Remember, TikTok is now a search platform as much as anybody else for younger generations. When you look at libraries of content, if you want to find something, you need to have it put in a way so that you can find it. It makes sense, yeah? So that's the way to look at hashtags, is so that the platform knows where to send your content to, because if your content gets sent to the wrong people originally, you're never going to grow, because they won't interact with it, okay? And that's what needs to happen. There needs to be interaction, okay? And that's how the platforms know. So they send it out to a few people, there's interaction, they go, okay, that went well, we'll send it out to more, and then we'll send it out to more, and then you get viral, okay? Do that incorrectly, and it will get sent to the wrong people, and they'll just ignore it, and you'll die a death, right? Hashtags are important. Okay, call to action. All right, now when you're talking about short form, you have to consider that you need to tell people what they have to do next, right? So if you don't tell them you've got a YouTube channel with lots of really great stuff on it, how are they supposed to know to go look at it? So a call to action, whatever that may be. Start with a hook. The hook is the important thing. You need that no matter what you're doing. You need to get interest. You need to encourage people to stay on board and to stay watching. Okay? The world we live in now is different than how it used to be. Okay? Some of us will remember a time where if somebody started speaking, people would listen because, well, out of politeness. Whereas now, people are too busy. People have got too much going on, right? You have to give them a reason to want to watch. So that's why you want to start with the hook, okay? Trends, there's a lot of trends on TikTok and things like that. Use them judiciously. The problem with trends is that they don't bring followers that matter. What they do is you can get an upsurge in followers, but those people are not interested in you. It's the trend that they are following, right? And so a couple of weeks down the line, when they stop interacting with your channel because, well, they're not your followers in the first place, that's actually detrimental. So just got to be a bit cautious about doing that. So it seems like an easy win, but in the long term, not really. Okay. Get creative. Well, it speaks for itself, I think. I'm aware of time, so I want to try and get through these a little bit. So engage and communicate, right? You'd be amazed how many times I see this. Okay? Yeah, interact with people, talk to people. If they leave a comment back. Yeah, if they take the time to say something to you, then it's back, isn't it? Yeah, treat it like the real world. You know, if you walked up to me today and went, "Hi, how you doing?" and I totally blanked you, what's the chances of you trying that again? Quite slim, yeah. And the same applies online. You know, even though we're not in the same room, it doesn't hurt to have a bit of manners, and it makes people feel welcome and part of the community, which essentially is what we're talking about, is that community building, right? So it's a conversation, it's a two-way street. Okay, be consistent. This is the other thing, especially when it comes to short form. The amount of people that I do this with, and I say, you should be doing short form, they say, brilliant, let's get going. And I say, right, how many short form videos can you commit to a day? And they're like, oh, I can do 25. I'm like, every day. And they're like, yeah. And then 2 weeks later, they're like, I can't do it. I just can't do it anymore. Right? The stress has got to them. So when we say consistency, we mean do what you can do in the length of time you can do it, right? So if you can only do one a day, do that. If you can only do one a week, do that, but consistency, right? The platforms need to understand that you're going to be regular and you're going to commit to it. Okay. Keep it under 15 seconds. That, not so much these days, but it still stands. Make it quick, make it snappy. View time is important. All right, now finally, the last thing I'm going to say today on this is build an ecosystem. And this is where it comes right back to what I was saying about you don't have to get rid of YouTube. In fact, don't get rid of YouTube. That's the dumb thing to do. YouTube's great. What I'm saying is build an ecosystem. Now, whether that is you're on several platforms, whether you've got your own email list, whether you've got your own platform like school or something like that, whether you're mapping people over into Thinkific or Kajabi or whatever it might be for courses, whether you just want to build an online community on a Facebook group, doesn't matter what it is or how you do it, right? Point is, think about it as an ecosystem, not a standalone thing. Right? The idea is to get all of it working together in harmony, and all of it helps to shore each other up, and it brings everybody in. Yeah? So whether they see a piece of short form, long form, website, blog, article, whatever it might be, it's all been taken to the same place. Yeah. So essentially, guys, that's kind of that for today. I hope it was interesting. I hope you got something from it. And I'm not sure time we're allowed to have. I don't know what the next one